Hello, everybody. We're happy to be back after a short holiday break with a new episode of We Are the World Games. Today, we will focus on beach handball, and we have a wonderful guest. He's from the US. He was the World Games Athlete of June. Hello, Ebiye Udo-Udoma. Hi.
Hey,
How are you?
Philip. I appreciate the introduction. I'm doing well.
So before we start talking to each other, let's just have a quick look at a short clip with some of your best scenes. Ebiye, when and what age did you start playing beach handball?
Beach handball specifically, I was 21 years old. It was April of 2015. Got the opportunity to play at the American Open Beach Handball Championships in Gulf Shores, Alabama, through my connection with the USA indoor handball national team that I was on at the time. And I'm 27 years old now, so going on 5 years, and it's been the journey of a lifetime.
And why did you start with indoor handball?
I started playing indoor handball when I was 15 years old after seeing the game in the Beijing Olympics, which was the summer of 2008. I played beach handball for the first time in 2015. It was just a fun tournament for our indoor guys. We were just a bunch of indoor handball players playing beach on the sand, and we ended up losing our final to the Colombian national team who actually knew how to play beach handball, and we were just a bunch of indoor guys who didn't know how to play beach, so they beat us pretty easily. But the experience as a whole, it was such an amazing experience. I had a blast, and when I got the opportunity to try out for the USA Beach team at the end of 2015, I took advantage of it, and I made the team. A couple months later, we won the 2016 Pan American Championships, and once we won that Pan American Championship, I realized I couldn't leave these guys. Yeah, we've got to keep building on what we started here.
And how much different is playing beach handball from indoor handball? Did you have to learn like a completely new technique and skills?
I mean, a lot of people say that it's the same game, but it's a different game. The beach is a little bit more of a finesse game. It has the spectacular goals of the spin shot and the in-flight, things that would be seen as very trick shots. In indoor handball, they're very common in beach, and the first thing I had to learn was how to spin and shoot consistently, developing body control while spinning and rotating in the air, because it wasn't something that I had to do in any other sport. And in addition, there's a greater concentration of in-flight shots, or as the Germans say, Kempa tricks, and learning how to make those passes with touch and understanding the timing with receiving that pass while keeping your goalkeeper and the defense in the peripheral vision. Those are skills that were unique to beach handball that I had to learn once I crossed over from indoor handball. But I feel as if a lot from my indoor handball experience carried over. I also had a pretty diverse athletic background before I even got into indoor handball, and I felt as if all the elements of the various sports that I played growing up all combined into beach handball, and that's part of what made it so exciting for me. Was it felt as if my entire life was building up to me being a beach handball player.
Well, I'm from Germany, and Germany, of course, has a big indoor handball tradition, and I feel beach handball has still, well, a long way to go to be kind of equal to indoor handball. How is it in the US? Is it the same there?
It's a little different in the United States because we don't have any sort of handball tradition. So we're still just trying to get indoor handball off the ground. We generally don't have too much of a fight between indoor and beach, simply because we're too small of a community to fight between one amongst another. Maybe as time goes on, I know that since we're hosting the LA 2028 Olympic Games, there's going to be a big push for kids who are currently teenagers and trying to get them involved in the indoor handball so they could potentially be Olympians in their mid to late 20s. But like I said, we're too small of a handball community as a whole to have any sort of beach versus indoor discrepancy.
Well, you mentioned the Olympics coming to Los Angeles. So, of course, the World Games are also coming to the United States in 2022 now. So, and we have beach handball. We hope that we will see the US team there. I'm not sure at the moment. Do you have to go through the trials, or as a host country you have a wild card?
As host country, we have automatic qualification or wild card, as you would say. So we're going to be there regardless, both our men's team and our women's team. And it's something that we're all very excited for on a number of levels. For me, as I mentioned, I started playing beach handball in Alabama. And so it'll be a bit of a homecoming for me to be able to go back into Alabama, where I started in beach handball, and be able to compete in a world tournament where I got started. It's going to be the experience that brings my whole career full circle. And I'm just hoping to be ready and to have my guys as ready as possible to take advantage of the opportunity, because we don't get to play too many competitions in the United States where we can showcase what it is that we do to a bunch of Americans. And this is going to be an opportunity of a lifetime. So we're really looking forward to it.
It sounds great. And speaking about your career, let's have a look at one very important game, I'd say, of your career, of the 2018 World Championships against Russia.
All right. Man, this was the roughest 24 hours of my life. And just to give you a little bit of a backstory, there was an itinerary miscue. So I didn't arrive in Kazan until the morning of this day. My teammates were already there, but we had a scheduling conflict where I flew in from Spain literally the morning of. And I get into Kazan 4 a.m. local time. My transport from the airport to the hotel wasn't arranged, and I ended up getting held at customs as well. So I didn't get out of the airport until after 6 a.m. I get to the hotel right before 7 a.m. We have a game in the morning against Brazil at 11. So I just checked into my hotel, and I'm supposed to play in 3.5 hours. And Brazil being the reigning World Games champions, you have to be at your best just to have a shot against them. And so I was a zombie that game. We lose in the morning. I come back to the hotel, and I just pass out. We have this evening game against Russia, but I passed out till like 4 p.m. And then someone woke me up. It's like, hey, we got to play.
So wait, these two games, you had 2 games in one day?
We had both of these games day one. And I arrived that morning. And so I didn't really get a rhythm with the guys in Russia. It was just a bit of a rough setup all around. And if memory serves, I had a really rough start to this game. I think it was the first time I'd missed my first 2 shots of the game.
Yeah, we see the beginning here. Yeah, you're okay. On the outside left here.
Yeah, I'm playing left wing, and Jacob threw me an amazing pass, and that's something I've got to finish. I'd say 80, 90% of the time, that's a goal if Jacob can get me that pass. Credit to Anton. He had a great game. Obviously, he makes the save there, but he had a really good game. My man Wiz scored. So fortunately, we didn't lose the 2 points on my miss. It's always nice when your teammate has your back.
You're playing the host of the World Championships, and
so we're in Russia, playing against Russia, and we had both lost our first game of the day. So the loser of this game, if it's us, we're out of the tournament. If it's them, they have a do or die against Brazil the following day. So there's a lot riding on this game. And just to start off with missing my first 2 shots of the game, on the second shot, I went for the nutmeg, and I got it past Anton. But the difficult thing in beach handball is when you shoot low and you're playing on the sand, that ball can bounce every which direction. So even if it's on target, when it gets past the goalkeeper, it can go in a different direction. Like if that was indoor handball, it would have been a goal, but in beach, you take the risk whenever you shoot low because the ball can bounce in any direction, and that's what happened to me there. So it's a bit rough having to watch these clips, but with anything in life, when you fail, you just try to learn from your mistakes and do better next time. But dang, that was rough. That was rough to watch.
You seem to remember this game pretty well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I remember most games I play pretty vividly. It's a blessing and a curse. you just have a bit of a photographic memory when it comes to my athletic competitions. But I remember possession by possession. If you roll a clip, I can almost guarantee you, I can tell you how the result's going to end. It's just one of those things where I watch a lot of film. Even when I lose, it's still important to watch all of your games and see what little things you could correct, even if you didn't make big mistakes. You notice little details. Even when your team plays well or you play well and you win, when you see things from that objective third-person view, you notice those little details that you don't necessarily notice from a first-person perspective. So it's important to watch all of your games, even games where you don't play well and it's painful for you to watch, like this game. But I know this game pretty well. And, as I mentioned, it was a pretty rough 24 hours as a whole. Like I said, with arriving in Russia that day and then playing the reigning World Games champions in the morning and then trying to bounce back and play this game in the evening. But when we came into this competition, this was the game we were looking forward to because we get to play against the host, primetime slot. This was just after the opening ceremonies, so everybody was there. And as a competitor, that's the type of environment you want to be in, to be able to play in front of a big crowd and try to be able to put on a show. And this game as a whole, even though it was not my finest hour, it was a really good beach handball game. And it was a beach handball game that had a pretty significant effect on the trajectory of men's beach handball. I'm not sure if we're going to watch any more of this game, but
yeah, we're going to watch
this game.
We're gonna watch the end. Maybe we can just start watching the end now. So let's go to the second clip. So it was a one-on-one after 2 sets, and it went to penalties.
Yeah. So this is a minor detail, but for me, this coin toss is actually one of my favorite memories. As an athlete, most people wouldn't think of these little things, but the guy who's the captain of the Russian team, number 11, Roman Kalashnikov, we both played on the wings, and we both played on both wings. And he was the first player in beach handball to play what we in the United States call the switch wing. And in 2018, that was the role that I played, and my game was very inspired by his. So to have this little moment where I get to be across from somebody that I respect a lot, and we're playing in a big game against each other. He's someone from when I got into beach handball was someone that I looked up to and tried to emulate his game. So to have this moment where it's the two of us and we got to have this coin toss, for me, like those little tidbit memories are the things that I'll take with me when I retire, when you get to go up against guys that you admire and you respect. And I get to have moments like this. So yeah, I mean, I scored, which is always nice. They scored first, and then I scored on my shot. And up until this point, I'm okay. I'm pretty happy. Things go a little bit south after I score this goal. But,
no, you went into the goal, right?
So one thing about that, and I mentioned earlier that this was a pretty significant game within the scope of the sport of beach handball, is the court players or non-goalkeepers being defenders in the shootout at this time was a Pan-American tactic more so than it was a European tactic. As you noticed, for all of their shootouts, they had a goalkeeper stay in the goal. It was much more of a European team. Now there's more parity, and there are more European teams placing court players coming out into the court during a shootout. And as I mentioned, it was just a cool experience to be able to go one-on-one with Roman. My game plan was I knew that he's going to lean towards the left of the court. So as soon as he made his first movement, I tried to beat him to the spot and get the charge. I thought I got there, but he did a good job of avoiding me and leaning left. And I thought he was going to score. When he misses the shot, obviously I'm really excited because I was surprised that he missed wide. And then about a second or so later, you hear the referee whistle for the penalty, and you see my reaction. I went from being super elated that I thought we got this stop to being super surprised. And then my surprise went a whole nother level when Michael and Evangelos, who are the two Greek referees, they showed me the red card. And the reason why I was so surprised was, even if you consider that a foul on me, I didn't think it was anywhere near egregious enough to be a red card. And Michael saw me the next day and he apologized, and we're friends to this day. Both Michael and Evangelos, it's something that we can still laugh about, we joke about to this day. And I think that's one of the cool things about beach is the community of people. Obviously, you compete with the opponents, and nobody likes referees, but at the end of the day, referees are well respected in our sport. And like I said, I became good friends with Evangelos in particular after this game, and we talk beach handball all the time. And if I ever have a rules question, I'll ask him about it. So it was a moment that ended up fostering a really good relationship for me with a couple people who I previously wasn't friends with. And
when you see it today in the clip, would you say it's a foul when you watch it?
Yeah, let's go back to the clip. I'll try to break it down. And there's one point that I wanted to make that I didn't quite make. So I mentioned that the tactic of players coming onto the court, particularly this year, was more of a Pan-American tactic. And what happened on this day is both myself and then Diogo Silva, who's a defender for the Brazilian team, we both got red carded playing against European teams. And I think his foul was a little bit more clear than mine, but it still wasn't an egregious foul. And what this one day, because Sweden ends up beating Brazil in the shootout and Diogo Silva gets red carded, Russia beats us in this shootout, I get red carded, and we each have to serve a game suspension. We were already eliminated at this point on our end, but it really forced the IHF referee group to look at how we want to enforce a shootout. And the thought process at the time in Europe, because they hadn't seen as many court defenders, was if there's ever a foul in the shootout, it's a compulsory red card. And after this day, they clarified that that's not the case. If a goalkeeper or defender commits a careless or a trifling offense, but it's not egregious, you can award a penalty and not issue a red card. I personally think this should be a no call, it shouldn't be a foul, but regardless of whether it's a foul or not, there became this really big debate, particularly because it was Pan American teams who were more apt to use the tactic. And if this happened in Pan America, I don't think anybody would even think it's a red card. But in Europe, the thought process at the time was if it's a foul during a shootout, it's an automatic red, because they didn't see it as much. And when you have a younger discipline versus indoor handball, there are always going to be new players that come up with new techniques and new tactics, and there's always going to be someone who's ahead of the referees. And that's true in any sport. Whenever you have an innovative player or you have an innovative team or innovative tactic, you may not necessarily know how to referee it if you're seeing it for the first time. And after this game, they made very clear how they wanted to enforce penalties and how they wanted to enforce contact in the shootout moving forward. So if there's any consolation that I get from this game, is that I had a pretty significant effect on how the game is now refereed. So it ended up being a really significant moment. Ultimately, we lose the shootout, and because Sweden beat both Russia and Brazil on the day, that knocked us out of the competition. So in a 24-hour span, I arrived in Russia, got red carded, and after I got red carded, I couldn't even watch the rest of the game, and not too many people know this, but as I'm walking out of the arena, a little teenage boy comes up to me and says, "Mr. Ebiye, you've been randomly selected for drug testing." And so he takes me away. I don't even get to watch the rest of the shootout because I got selected for drug testing. They take you as soon as, not just the game's over, as soon as you're done with the game. So I walk out from getting this red card to go and get drug tested, and I'm in drug testing when I find out that we lost the shootout. And in a 14-hour span, all the preparation we put into a world championship was just done. It hurts me a little bit to have to look at this footage. Like I said, it was probably the roughest 24-hour period of time in my life. Yeah, I mean,
how did you deal with that after these 24 hours? How did you deal with that personally and as a team?
Individually, all you can do is make the most of whatever's in front of you. And so we got relegated to consolation. And one of the things that a trainer, a friend, a mentor of mine, Capel Clark, would tell me is don't let one mistake become two. Right? Yeah, there are times in life where you're going to make mistakes. There are times in life where the sand's just not going to crumble your way, especially in beach handball. You always want to make sure that once you make a mistake, the next thing you do is the best action you can do. That's why I shake their hands So I shook their hands, walked out. We lost the game, and obviously the team is really dejected. But we're in consolation. It's like, hey, we're here. We're in Russia. Let's just make the most of the games we have. And then we went undefeated in the next consolation round. On my end of things is you just want to play the best you can, whatever you have, even if it is consolation.
What you said, I was surprised, and I was impressed also that you shook the referee's hand after he red carded you, and especially when you say, okay, you didn't really agree with his decision. I was really impressed that you did that.
I appreciate it. Like I said, you don't want to make one mistake become two. Me arguing with the ref isn't going to change the fact that he red carded me. Like, once the reality that I got red carded set in, you just want to do the next best thing you can. And so I shake both of their hands. Like I said, I'm friends with both of them to this day. And when anybody asks me about beach handball, if I have to share a game with them, I'll share this game with them. This game encapsulates the beauty, and in my case, the horror of beach handball, where it's a high-scoring game. It's super fast-paced. Any team can win.
Very
and
close.
Just to have the back and forth of, is USA going to win? Is Russia going to win? And to have that moment of truth call between myself and Roman, and just all the emotions you can hear, just the tide of emotions in the crowd, and just everything that makes beach handball exciting. To me, this game encapsulates what beach handball is all about. It's spectacular. It's fast-paced. And anything can happen.
It was a great game indeed. But coming back from 2018 to today, so how is the situation at the moment? Can you train as a team, or is COVID-19 still so strong that you can only do individual workout? How is the situation?
It feels that the United States hasn't handled COVID-19 quite as well as they have across Europe. And so it's still prevalent here, and our national team still isn't training together. We're still training individually in small groups or pods for the most part. And even with my small training group of 3 of my US guys here, so it's 4 of us, and we still train in mask. And so COVID is still an issue here. It's still prevalent here. The big thing is, regardless of the situation, you've got to keep on working to get better and get better as a player.
I saw on Facebook, I saw a video that you posted, and I was really impressed. It was like a little workout, and you did this thing with 2 golf balls and 2 hammers, juggling kind of. I was really impressed. How long did it take you to do that?
So the stay-at-home video that clip was from, it was a combination of things that I'd been doing as early as 2008 is when I started handball. Oh, wow. And the majority of what I did in that video consisted of things that I started doing during COVID. Because when COVID initially hit and I wasn't sure if I was going to play, I looked at that as an opportunity to work on different elements of my athleticism that weren't so handball specific. And I was looking for new things and new ways to train by myself, because I couldn't train with other people. I couldn't train with my teammates. And so I was looking for ways to do cognitive and coordination training by myself. And all the different tools that you see in that video were things that I started for the most part during COVID, like in March. And from March to May, that was how I was training, just by myself. And I wanted to capture this period of my life, this unique chapter of COVID-19, and how I trained during it and how I trained by myself. And found a location. They said, hey, you can rent this out for 4 hours. So we found the location to shoot it.
I was wondering whether that's your home, because it looks.
No, I wish. Awesome. I wish that was my home. No, it was not my home. I wish that was my home. But
one last question. COVID-19, of course, was a huge break for sports all over the world, but especially in the US, you have another big thing, which is Black Lives Matter. And how did you experience? Did it change handball and beach handball as well?
So, from COVID, in May, the riots became very prevalent. And I'm here in Los Angeles, where my particular neighborhood wasn't hit with a riot, or there wasn't too much other than civil protests. But in other portions of LA, things got really serious. One of my teammates got blocked off from going home because there was a riot that broke off near his street. And it's become a pretty huge civil rights issue throughout the country. I don't think it had too much of an effect on handball or beach handball in particular, simply because everything was canceled for us anyways. It did lead to discussion amongst the team, because on our current team, myself and then Chalmers Brown were the two black players in the pool, and the majority of the guys on our squad aren't black. And so it certainly led to some discussion between our teammates, and my teammates are cool guys, and a lot of it was mostly them asking how they could be better allies. Right? And that was kind of the crux of the conversation. And I think it was very helpful for us as a team to be able to have that sort of discourse as this whole Black Lives Matter movement and the issues with Breonna Taylor. When all of this came to the forefront, it really forced us to look at the dynamics of our team, because handball being a smaller sport in the United States, there's a saying, niche sports tend to be rich sports until they take off. And there's been that natural socioeconomic barrier between various minorities getting involved or investing in handball, simply because the resources to recruit and retain minority athletes just aren't there in the States. And with everything that's gone on, I've been impressed with how USA Team Handball has dealt with things. Barry Siff, who was our CEO until recently, and his team with Melissa Zhang and Emily Hewitt, they've done a really good job with handling this issue and opening dialogue for Black athletes in the sport of handball, and talk about how much of an issue race has in handball and USA handball. And I don't think there's been overt racism as far as handball in the United States. I think it's a pretty cool community. We're just really small. And like I said, when you have a small sport and you don't have a lot of resources to give opportunities to those in maybe less privileged socioeconomic backgrounds the opportunity to play, who you can recruit into the game is obviously going to come from a more privileged socioeconomic background, and that's probably going to be white. And that's why the majority of our players, both on the indoor and the beach side, have been white. As far as how that's going to change moving forward, we'll see. Like I said, I think USA Team Handball, for the most part, has been on the right side of things. As far as handling race relations in the country, they've been on the progressive side of things. But as with the whole sport in the United States, not just indoor, not just beach, not just with minority athletes or Black athletes, there's a lot of work that has to be done just growing the whole sport in the United States, and that will be a part of it, certainly.
It reminds me, I have one more question. Your nickname is the Handball Ninja. Does this come from because you've been a fighter and fought your way through where you are now, or where does the name come from?
So, Phil, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
So the nickname Handball Ninja, the first time I was called Ninja was in Rio in 2016. We were playing the Brazilian team in Praia São Francisco in Rio de Janeiro. And while we were playing them, they beat us pretty easily, but I was leading scorer for our team. And whenever I would score a goal, it's custom in handball when a player scores a goal for the announcer to say that player's name or that player's last name, right? But when I would score a goal, he being Maradona Marquez, who was the in-house announcer during our game against Brazil, he would say something that did not sound anything like my name. And I'm used to people butchering my name, but he said something that did not sound anything like my name. And the first time he said it, I'm subbing off, and I was like, what did he just say? But the Brazilian fans, they're giggling, they're chuckling. I was like, all right, let me pay attention. So next possession down, I get the ball, I go one-on-one. I score a goal. As I'm subbing off, I'm paying more attention to hear what he's saying, and he's calling me the American Ninja. I was like, I like it. I can roll with that. And so whenever I scored that weekend against Brazil, he would say the American Ninja, or the American Ninja's in the house, or he just call me Ninja. And after the game, Brazilian fans, they'd ask for selfies, for autographs, like Ninja, Ninja, Ninja. I was like, maybe there's something to this whole Ninja thing. So that's how that nickname came about, and I've just been rolling with Ninja ever since. And it's been a cool nickname, and I think it's fitting for the type of player that I am. So it's all worked out, for sure.
Yeah, that's a great story. All right, Ebiye, thanks a lot for the interview and for the insights, especially on this traumatic game against Russia 2 years ago. We're very much looking forward to seeing you and Team USA in World Games 2022. Thanks a lot. And thanks to you all for watching. Don't forget to like this video, and we'll be back soon with a new interview. Bye-bye.